Hello, my beautiful platonic internet besties. In this video, I'm doing my quarterly favorites. So I decided that moving forward, I'm going to do monthly wrap-ups and quarterly favorites. You would have already heard me talk about some of these books if you've been here for a long time, but I figured let's put them all into one video to keep track of which books were my favorite from the first quarter of 2024. I am going to disclaim here that I'm including April in this, which is not quarter one. I just don't want to wait until July to tell you about my quarterly favorites. I'm going to include April in here, but just know, yes, I'm aware that that's technically not Q1. Without further ado, let's keep this short, sweet, and simple. And let me tell you about the 5 books that are my favorites of the year thus far, giving full credit to Larry, because I saw Larry do this first. I also saw Jess from Peace Love Books do that, so definitely not my idea, but a very fun idea. The first book that I want to talk about is, let me move over. So the first book that I want to talk to you about is An Earl to Remember by Stacey Reed. This is an overboard retelling about a woman who is a chef. It's a historical romance. She gets the opportunity to be a chef for this party being thrown by like this Earl Duke person who's like hella rich. It's on a yacht. She agrees because she has a family to take care of, her young sisters. She needs the money. It's really good pay and she loves cooking. So she goes and she caters this party. It's an absolute hit. There's a misunderstanding because she goes to bring dinner to the Earl's like private suite on the boat and he assumes that she's there for a threesome. So she's like, what the hell is going on? They get caught in a somewhat compromising position and his mistress is like, how fucking dare you? And she gets fired. The chef gets fired. The Earl and his mistress get into a fight. He gets thrown overboard, loses all of his memory, and ends up in the town of the same woman who he has jaded. And she decides to say that this is actually my husband, and she puts him to work. I really enjoyed the movie Overboard, and so I really loved this Overboard retelling of it. I think this is so funny and sweet, and it's just generally a lighthearted, fluffy, good time. I really enjoyed this, and it's definitely a favorite for 2024 thus far. You saw it coming. You saw it coming. It's The Right Move by Liz Tomford. I adore this book. This is a sports romance, and perhaps the sports romance that triggered my sports romance era, because I'm very much into that, which is a little bit of a spoiler for an upcoming video. Just know, very much into sports romance. This is a basketball romance, and in The Right Move, we are following Indy and Ryan. Ryan is a rising star basketball player. He has hella money, he is at the top of his game, and he is just the one to watch for. And then we have Indy, who is Ryan's twin sister best friend. Indy just left a relationship where she finds out that her fiance, who was her childhood friend and the love of her life, was cheating on her, and she moves out, loses everything, and has nowhere to go. Indy's best friend convinces Ryan to let Indy just live with him for a little while. So they agree. They have a little bit of a grumpy sunshine dynamic going on because Ryan definitely prefers to be isolated, while Indy is all bubblegum like happiness. At least that's who she is most of the time. She has a lot of internal struggles going on. I would caution you that Indy is dealing with fertility issues, so that's something that you personally are not in the mindset to read. Please take care of yourself and know that it does exist in this book. But this is a very romantic book. Just the way that Ryan quietly loves Indy via his actions is something that is so, so good. They do end up fake dating, and all of the scenes where they have to fake date so that Ryan stays on the team. Love those scenes. It's very spicy. I love their dynamics, and this is just an all-time favorite. How much of an all-time favorite? Within this notebook that I'm holding, there's an entire spread dedicated to The Right Move. And we have Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey, another sports romance, except this one is golf. Yes, the bad boy of the golfing world. This book took me completely by surprise because I was not expecting to love this. I thought it would be a 3-star, like fun palette cleanser, but I jumped into this story and I was immediately obsessed. So Fangirl Down is the story of this woman who is the ultimate fangirl for this golfer. She herself has a golfing background, owns a golf shop, and just really admires this player. She calls herself Wells Bell, and she has been with him him and been his #1 fan through everything, from when he rose all the way to the top, all the way to his swift descent where he is self-sabotaging here, there, and everywhere. And our book opens up with our main female character, Josephine, at one of his games, and it's one of the final games, and she's just cheering him on, but he's playing like shit, and he quits, and it's just like, stop cheering for me, like, I'm not good, I need you to stop being my fan, is a total asshole to her, and she is like, fine, I'll stop being your fan because you were a dick to me. Circumstances happen, and she ends up being his caddy, coaching him through the championships and trying to get him back on his A game. And this is just much like an Earl to Remember, silly, goofy, good times. But if you like a possessive hero, someone who is quite literally down bad, on his knees, hearing wedding bells in his fucking head for this character, then Fangirl Down is the book to go for. Listen, that's just the kind of hero I like. I like my fictional men obsessed. And this man was obsessed. So of course this really worked for me. The golfing scenes as well were actually very, very interesting, which I'm going to attribute to Tessa Bailey's ability to write this story and write these characters really well, because in what world do I care about golf? This one, because the golfing scenes were really, really interesting. And if you like travel, you would like this book because it's set at the championship where they are at like this hotel resort area. So it has very strong like vacation vibes, but of course they're not on vacation because they are working. But I really love this book. It's definitely a favorite. I'm eagerly anticipating my special edition to come in this week because I know it's going to become a comfort read for me. I will read this again and again and again throughout the years. Then I have a TBR veteran for me, and that is Georgie All Along. Georgie All Along has been on my bookshelves for a couple of years at this point. I unwrapped this in my Wheel Spinner Decides What I Read for the Week video series that I'm doing here on my channel, and I got wrapped books behind me. One of the wrapped books that I picked up was Georgie All Along. This is a story of self-discovery. We have a woman in her late 20s who has a really successful career, but realizes that she sacrificed most of her life to take care of other people, and she has no idea what it is that she really wants. She feels really scatterbrained and unmotivated, largely because that's what people tell her. Never let someone who doesn't know you tell you about yourself. Their judgment is literally not your fucking problem. That's their own business, regardless of how much they try to make it your business. But anyway, I'm not gonna get heated about that. Georgie All Along is the story of Georgie, as I mentioned, who's in that situation. And she ends up moving back to her very, very small town in the South because her best friend has also moved back there. And her best friend is having a baby. And she says, you know what? While I'm trying to find my purpose and my direction, I'm gonna go help my friend with her new baby and with the end of her pregnancy. She goes and she moves back into her childhood home, except her parents actually rented the house out or let their friends like stay in the house while his house is under renovation. So that introduces us to Levi, who is the town's bad boy with a really bad reputation. He's a grown man now, but it's a small town in the South. People are not willing to let go of his past as a child and a teenager, and that really haunts him. So he is also dealing with his own issues, and this is the story of how they come together. Georgie has a list that she made as a teenager, and she finds this when she moves back to her childhood town, and she decides that she's going to work on that list, and Levi helps her, and of course they fall in love throughout this story. I gave this book 4 stars, but I don't have to give a book 5 stars to consider it a favorite. Georgie All Along definitely is a favorite, from the writing style to the atmosphere to all of the slow sleepiness of this town and how well the author portrays this, to the dynamics between Levi and Georgie. It is grumpy sunshine, but they both have their own complicated past that they're dealing with and issues with identity that they're trying to confront. I absolutely adored this book. I'm so glad that I read it, and I'm thinking I'm going to make like sprayed edge versions of this, but not quite yet. Just know it definitely was a favorite of the year, and if you're looking for a story like this, I would recommend Georgie All Along. And finally, Entreat Me, which was another 4-star read, but again, it doesn't have to be 5 stars for it to be a favorite. Entreat Me is a Beauty and the Beast retelling following two main characters, Louvain and Ballard. And Louvain is the sister of the Beauty character in this story, and Ballard is the father of the Beast character in this story. Ballard has been cursed by his ex-wife, and like a true Beauty and the Beast retelling, it is truly about these two people falling in love throughout the story. Grace Raven writes soulmates like no one else, and just a relationship between Ballard and Louvain, Ballard and his son, Louvain and Cinia, her sister, and then also their relationship to the rest of the staff in the building is so sweet and beautiful to witness. The banter is top tier. It's very humorous. It's lighthearted, but there's this undertone and thread of like darkness throughout that I really appreciate, because the roses from Beauty and the Beast, hence all the roses and thorns in here, are a manifestation of the curse, and the way that they show up throughout this story is so eerie and creepy, and just like why the curse exists is sad. But I love this book so much. Just go in knowing that it's a little bit slow just because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and if you've seen Beauty and the Beast, you know the movie itself is also slow, right? It's largely set in the castle. It's entirely about the relationship between these two characters, and I've heard this mentioned multiple times in Riley's Discord, and I completely agree. Grace Raven writes fantasy romance that feels like historical romance, and they are deeply romantic books with characters who often feel like soulmates. This is only the third Grace Raven book that I've read, but like her other two, this quickly has become an all-time favorite. I'm really glad that I read this, and I do want to acknowledge that if I read this again, keeping in mind that it is 100% a Beauty and the Beast retelling with its own spin, I would give this 5 stars, because I would know to prepare for the slowness of the story and to recognize that the plot is just a relationship between these two people. And that's it, besties. Those are the 5 books, hopefully that was 5, that were my favorites from January through April. I would love to know in the comments below what was your favorite book of the year so far, or if there are any books that you're looking forward to reading that you think are going to be 5-star reads for you. As always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. If you would like to comment but you're not sure what to comment, you can leave me flowers and bees in the comment section below, just to let me know that you've gotten to the end of the video, and I am going to see you in my next one. Bye.